today's award-winning class, we take up the play Antigone by Sophocles, which has been called by many, myself included, the quintessential public affairs text. So please put away your cell phones and your texting gizmos and stuff like that, and sit right back, and you'll hear the tale of a woeful play that started in a town called Thebes on a God-forsaken day. The king was a I've got to stop that. Okay. I'm going to start out by asking somebody to summarize the plot of this cheerful and uplifting play. And then I am going to ask for questions about what this play means, and then I am going to blather. The more questions you ask, obviously, the less I will blather. If you don't get enough of professors blathering in your other classes, I am more than happy to help. I can talk about this one till the sun comes down. So, come on in and set a spell. Take your shoes off.
I already have them off.
Y'all come back now. You hear? Does anybody volunteer to start out and saying, how does the play Antigone by Sophocles start out? What's the deal? I love you, Leigh, and I know you're going to do a great job. I need to know what this guy's name is. Tony? Okay, hit it, Tony. Oh, that's right, you're not allowed to sit next to Trevor, Travis. Who else do we have here? Trent and Terry. Okay, go ahead, Tony.
Polynices doesn't give up his throne. Eteocles goes and gets an army to attack the city. So Eteocles and Polynices end up killing each other. Creon.
Okay, hold on. You're doing really well. As a matter of fact, I'm calling timeout on you. You obviously did your reading. We'll get through to you one of these days. Polynices is the king of Thebes for a year. I'm sorry. Eteocles is the king of Thebes for 1 year. He's supposed to be king for 1 year, handed over to his brother Polynices. But if any of you in this room or in this thing have ever had to share something part-time with one of their siblings, you know this is just never going to work. Eteocles, at the end of his year as king, decides it's good to be king. No, Polynices, you cannot be king next year or ever. I am the king, dang it. And you're right. They have a big war. Polynices and his 6 best buddies fight Eteocles and his 6 best buddies at the 7 gates of Thebes, and they all kill each other. Okay, now somebody who is not Tony, want to pick it up from there? Okay, go ahead, Jack. And your name is? Elena, I knew that. Go ahead. Jack.
How do you pronounce
Antigone?
Antigone is talking to her sister, who her sister is. And,
Izzy.
and she's telling her that she wants to go bury her brother's body because Creon, is that the guy? He says that he made the rule that you can't bury him because he's a traitor, something along those lines.
Excellent. Pause. You're done, Jack. That is very excellent, Jack. Basically, Creon, who is now the king again, and this guy really gets a bum deal in this play. He really looks like a twit. It's really hard to justify a character who says, okay, heroic young woman who stands up for her beliefs, go into that cave and die so I don't have to worry about getting miasma. But he never wanted to be king, did he? He never wanted to be king. These 2 goofnutses killed each other, and he's stuck being king. And he's got a responsibility to make sure that the city of Thebes is actually well ruled. And he doesn't want to be defied. He wants to call the shots his own way. He's put there in the job as a king. Okay, you're going to make me the king. You're going to give me the responsibilities. Fine, this is my ruling. Hit it, Elena. What happens next?
Antigone hears about it, and Antigone and Ismene.
Easy.
they're Polynices' brother, or sisters. It's their brother.
Right.
And Antigone wants to bury him anyways because she wants him to go to the underworld and
Correctamundo. As you know, devotees of Catabasis literature, you know that if Polynices' body is not buried, not only is it going to just sit out there and rot and get very, very gamey, it also means he's not going to know any peace in the afterlife. Supposedly, he won't get to go across the river Styx and hang around with the other dead people going blah, 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 blah. Instead, he'll have to just like do this forever. And that's not good. So Antigone tells Izzy, I don't care what Uncle King Creon says. I'm going to symbolically bury our beloved brother Polynices because it's not right that one of our dead brothers is buried with honors and the other one is left out to rot. Okay, nice job, Elena. I'm just repeating it out loud because, one, I like the sound of my own voice, and two, I've got a microphone on, so it's going to be recorded. Back in my other class that I taped once upon a time, I had all these brilliant class contributions that came out like this. Okay? Somebody from this side of the room want to help me out and say what happens next? Anybody? Go ahead, Sammy.
So Antigone goes out and does the ritual, pours the libations on him and so forth. Well, she's caught. And then she's brought before Creon, and they have their little verbal altercation.
Great. I should point out here, you're doing great, Sammy. Notice that Sammy said pours libations, sprinkles a little dust. She does not get a shovel and dig a great big hole and put them in there. Okay? It's more of a symbolic thing, sprinkling dust, say some prayers, pour a little offering out there, and it counts. Okay? You be quiet, Karen. I'll tell you when to talk. Karen walked in with me to class today, and I was saying, oh, hi, Karen. How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, well, she brought up something. You can go ahead and tell us, Karen. It's that good.
I asked why she did it the second time. This wasn't the first time effective enough, even though.
Exactly. And you know, in all of my 47 years of college teaching, I have been teaching college literally for 47 years. Pardon?
Shut the front door. It's an expression. It's an expression. Like, get out of here.
Oh, okay. God, I didn't know what the hell to make of it. Shut the front door, and I'm thinking, my God. You got to be careful what you say to us old guys, Janelle. We don't. So anyway, Karen wanted to know why in the heck did Antigone feel called upon? Because she did it once, and then it was undone. Then she went and did it again. Oops, she did it again. Oh, that's all right. What happens next? Then they have their interesting little banter. And what is, Sammy, the basis of their banter?
She defied his decree that no one was to bury Polynices because he was a traitor.
Exactly. This is another source of dramatic action. Creon's take on the situation is that I, Creon, am the king of Thebes. I may not be your first choice as the king of Thebes. I may be, the king who took office after Laius mysteriously died. And then I'm the king who took power for a while after Oedipus died until his two sons could decide on how to spread the kingship out. And then after they killed each other, here I am, I'm the king again. So nobody in the right mind could ask me of wanting to have been the king, But since I am going to be the king, since Zeus obviously believes I should be the king, I'm the king, damn it, and you will do what I say. Antigone looks at it differently. Somebody else, I know you know this, Sammy. Somebody else want to tell me how Antigone sees it? Oh, come on. Well,
She's a girl.
Well,
no, I just love that banter. Basically, wouldn't she be queen? No, she's a girl. Whoa. Let it state for the record, the question was asked and explained in 6 words. She'd be queen? She's a girl. Whoa, 7 words, I miscounted. Although, the funny thing is that out of all the characters in the entire play, the one who really has the most quote-unquote cojones, you know, I mean, it's a sexist term, you know, come on, grow up here. Hey, I'm a girl. Okay, grow a pair of ovaries. I don't care, okay? Pardon?
Balls are more sensitive than the ovaries anyway. They were both the same thing until they figure out if you a girl or a boy or not anyway. Everybody has them.
As Sophocles once said, I grow, stop it. I get older learning new things all the time. Oh, I know, stop fixating.
That's what we
Antigone cannot be the queen. Antigone cannot be anything other than
a lady.
a public affairs goddess. Kill me. She's the whole 9 yards. Community engagement. Yup. Cultural competence. Yup. She knows exactly what she's doing. And even if, like Karen and I, you know, you think she's kind of like putting on the dog a little bit, I go to marry death now. You know, she has the ethical leadership qualities, forgive me, Sophocles, to act on what she believes. She knows it's going to kill her. And she knows that from her experience in cultural competence, I know I'm just a girl. And I know that you are the great King Creon. Zeus intended you to be king. But listen here, King Creon, there are laws and rules, ethical system of conduct here that has nothing to do with what you think. Pause for a question there. Is there a question? Anybody got a question for me? It was interesting.
Interesting how?
We'll get to that. It was a catabasis. But any questions about the Antigone? I know. Antigone. Questions about Antigone? Tony? Got a question?
He just asked me if Antigone killed herself, but I explained to him that it was not Antigone, but it was her husband-to-be that killed himself.
Didn't she kill herself too? Yeah, she killed herself. Yeah. Oh, I mean, and it gets worse. It gets worse when Mrs. Creon finds out that not only Antigone, it's okay, this is a Greek tragedy, everybody knows how it's going to end.
Everybody died.
Okay, so really, Mrs. Creon, Eurydice, looks and she sees her dead future daughter-in-law. She sees her dead son. You know, she says, I'm running into the house, and then she goes in there and kills herself too. Camille? Hang on, go ahead. Camille raised her hand. Go ahead.
Is that just a really common name in Greek literature?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it has nothing to do with Orpheus or...
No. I realize that being named Camille, you know, you don't really run into other people named Camille. No, I mean, you don't really run into other people named Camille. If your parents name you Joe, you not only run into people named Joe, you run into dogs named Joe. I know at least 5 or 6 dogs in this town named Joe. And hey Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand? Too bad you're a dog and can't groan at that bad joke. I wish. But yeah. And Creon gets stuck with something even worse. That was well said, but no. He gets stuck living. He gets stuck living through all of this. Not only that, he is all by himself with the knowledge that thanks to his insistence on having his own way, Antigone, Haemon, and his wife Eurydice are all now dead. And the people aren't too happy either. Well, dang, I just gave away the play. I guess I just left out the part. Go ahead, Devi.
Okay. Creon is Antigone's uncle.
And great uncle.
Yeah, she married her cousin, or was about to marry her cousin.
Like I'm used to it. I've read about.
I wouldn't brag about being used to it, Devi. Go ahead.
I've read about Greek and Roman mythology.
Right.
But I was just clarifying.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cousin person.
Okay, Karen, are you foofing your hair or do you have something else brilliant to say?
It's bothering me.
Yeah, it's bothering me too. Okay, more questions, more comments. See, ask me. I've got all sorts of great answers. Yes, okay, Janelle. Go ahead. No, I know.
With Tiresias in the story, are they gonna talk about the part where he was still woman, man, woman?
Well, everybody in Thebes knows that.
Okay, but like, what's his whole part in this story? Like, does he kill himself too?
No, he does not kill himself too. You bring up a good question in your own inimitable way, which is good. This is what happens. Tiresias is kind of like a character you see in all sorts of Greek tragedies. It's like when Tiresias shows up, you know something bad's going to happen real soon, and he's going to say exactly what it is, but the person he's talking to is not going to believe him. In the Oedipus Rex, known to the Greeks as Oedipus Tyrannus, Janelle, the same thing happens to Oedipus. Oh, whoever sent this curse on my town. Oh my God, whoever it is that killed Laius, I tell you, I will reach down his throat and rip up his guts. I will tie him up in a wet straitjacket, throw him into a sauna, and make him listen to the plain white teas, Hey There Delilah, over and over again at a sound volume that'll make his fillings fall out. Tiresias says, I wouldn't go making all of those Baroque threats there, champ, until you know exactly who the Oh no, you blind old bat! You know, and he goes off on him for being blind.
So Tiresias is like the Cassandra of this play.
Except for he has an added benefit. He has an added benefit because he's blind, which means the person who's disrespecting him automatically has to make all sorts of bad blind jokes. Okay? And there are many, many distasteful blind jokes in the world. Just several of them passed it through my brain even as I speak. Some of them were taught to me by a blind guy. Handed me the cane one time when we were drinking. He said, I'm sick and tired of being blind. Here, you be blind. And he bought me another beer. Tiresias told Oedipus, back in the Oedipus Rex, Janelle, and this gets to your excellent question, I think, that basically the killer of Laius is you. And as soon as Tiresias hints to Oedipus that the killer of Laius is Oedipus, Oedipus just goes berserk. He goes, ape, you blind SOB, get the hell out of my town. You want to be king. You and Creon are in cahoots. And so here he shows up again in the Antigone. And he tells Creon, hey Creon, you know, the gods are unhappy again. The sacrifices aren't working. The gods are displeased. Something's going wrong. Don't tell me you sentenced Antigone to death. Yes, I did. What do you want to make of it? Blindo. Which is about the least hateful name for a blind person, you blindy puss or whatever. So in answer to your question, Janelle, you know, it's kind of like you know what's coming next when you see Tiresias being let in. And Tiresias then says, well, all right, buddy, you're bringing a whole case of whoop A55 down on yourself with your stupid decision. And you're going to think to yourself, you should have listened to old Tiresias, the blindy. And actually, at this point, Creon does start to think a little bit. Okay, pause for a question there. What happens next? Go ahead, Sammy. I take questions.
I don't understand, what is the choir, the chorus people? Who are they? What is this about?
That is the single most brilliant question I have heard in the last 27 minutes. Still giving you props, Karen. That's right up there. What the heck is the chorus doing? Besides saying things like, he snares the light-winged flocks of birds, herds of wild beasts, creatures from deep seas, trapped in the fine mesh of his hunting nets. And you're thinking to yourself, what does that mean? Now try to envision yourself a 22-year-old graduate student on his own for the first time in his life, smoking and drinking too much, trying to read this crap in ancient Greek. It was not fun. The chorus is a chorus of Theban elders. Remember that the chorus was there before the actors were there in Greek tragedy. That Greek tragedy and Greek comedy originally, and I'm always happy to remind you of this, Sammy, so thank you. Eh? Screw it. In Greek tragedy and Greek comedy, the action started just with the chorus singing a song that had been composed for the occasion and doing a dance that had been composed to honor the god or goddess for whom the festival is being performed. Eventually, one guy came out yes, I know, exactly. While the chorus is singing and dancing, a guy would come out and ask questions of the chorus. And hey, chorus, what do you think about Oedipus? And the chorus goes, I think I'll sing it. And they start doing their musical thing. Eventually, the actor was called, the person who did the talk was called the Hippocrates, or the answerer. It became the Greek word for actor. A hypocrite is somebody who is playing a part. And this is my long-winded answer to your question, Sammy, but it's an important one because remember, the chorus was there first. By the time that Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides wrote their tragedies, by the time that Aristophanes wrote his comedies, the chorus was less important, okay? Everybody wanted to see how the three actors interacted with each other. The chorus is still important. The chorus can be used for a number of different things, like in Aristophanes, the chorus is a chorus of frogs, and they sing the beautiful Brekikekex, coax, coax song for everybody's listening pleasure. The chorus in Antigone is a chorus of Theban elders. These are older men who are thought to be interested in how well the state is working. Public affairs. And in the beginning, they kind of side with Creon. Roar, 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 go Creon. You're the king, Creon. And then they get confused. And then after a while, they're saying, whoa, Creon, you're being kind of mean there, Creon. They're formulating their opinions on the fly. Okay? They are, on the one hand, dancing and looking beautiful and singing songs. But they are also interacting with the people in the play. And they are, come on in, Ryan. They are, in effect, a character in the play. And here, I think they do stand for Theban public opinion. Okay, the kind of things that people who aren't on Antigone's side necessarily, aren't on Creon's side necessarily might be thinking. And just like any kind of public opinion, it can change.
But they're flip-floppers.
Who said that? Who here isn't a flip-flopper? You're not?
Your prerogative change your mind. As you gain information,
Oh, I guess I am a flip-flopper. No, I'm not. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. I am not a flip-flopper. Everybody flip-flops. Well, well, no. And I'm not a politician either. I get mad at politicians. My beloved wife loved politics. Read about politics, watched TV about politics, went out online on politics. My dog Yongi gave $1,800 in 2008 to a certain presidential candidate. I mean, I just looked up the dog, my dog's name, Yongi. I didn't know there was even another dog named Yongi in the entire universe. And this is a digression, but it's a good one. And so I did some sleuth work, and I checked out Yongi Hughes' address. Yup, it's the same as mine. And his occupation was entertainer. And he is a kind of entertaining little dog. He spins around and does tricks and, you know, barks and pees on things. Well, actually, it was about at 1100 there, so I kind of watched it. And then when this candidate decided to drop out of the race, my wife was very unhappy. And I said, "You're going to be all, you know, I'm sorry to tell you this." You know, she said, I know. They dropped out of the race. I'm not really happy. I said, "Well, I really wasn't worried about you. How do you think Yongi is going to take it?" And she looked at me incredulously for a second, and she just, he knows. And it just cracked me up, you know, that Yongi, Yongi still gets political email. Look, I'm not all that thrilled about politicians either, okay? The flip side of it is that politicians do these things and get away with a lot of things only because people like us don't involve ourselves enough in the process. And I'm not calling anybody out. If I'm calling anybody out, I'm calling my own bad self out. You know, it's very easy to say, well, those dang fill in the blanks. They spend too much money on blank, and they're wrong about X, Y, Z. And you can fill in the blank with just about anything in the world. I can say something to offend just about everybody in this room in about 3 seconds, you know.
Let's hear it.
Damn baldy. I started out with myself. Or they look at politics in terms of, well, I'm a Baldo American. Is anybody else in this room a Baldo American? I think not. You're all wrong, and I disagree with each of you about everything. Okay? You know, change for, you know, sexual orientation, religion, you know, descent, zodiac sign, what you had for breakfast. And I will say this. The chorus, getting back to your excellent comment, Sammy, the chorus is a bunch of men representing a bunch of people who are politically involved and do have opinions about how the state ought to be run. They change from time to time. Sometimes they like one way better than the other, but they're thinking, they're doing something. No one person in this room is going to change the face of government in Springfield, Missouri, the United States, or the world.
Unless we become a dictatorship.
Yes, I've given some thought to that, and I dread the day that Yongi grows opposable thumbs because it will be a Yongocracy. Your comings and goings will be dictated by a 25-pound Esquimalt terrier with a curly tail that goes around like this. He doesn't care about bacon. He wants to be petted, and he loves the ladies. Look, just saying that this is a good example of how the ancient Athenians really did practice community engagement, because they're up there being entertained and they're getting a public affairs mission too. Hit it, Sammy.
Okay, this is a bizarre question.
Oh, good.
Well, I was reading this and this chorus kept popping up and they were very long-winded.
I know.
I was thinking, how many of these people are there and where do they sit? Where are they basically on stage?
Excellent question, which will be answered in a later presentation that I'll probably do live, but it'll probably have to be done in a really boring fashion, you know, where I'll sit with, you know, diagrams and junk like that. But basically everybody's in an amphitheater, okay? The dramatic action is going on here. Here are the seats in the amphitheater. It's called amphitheater or theater because it goes all the, if it goes all the way around, it's an amphitheater. It's just a theater otherwise. People are, and the benches and rows go down here, okay? There is no need for amplifiers or anything because these people can just project their voices right through a brick wall if they have to. They're that good. There is something here called a machina or machine which will dangle props down and stuff like that. But basically everybody is just sitting around here. Men, women, free, slaves, barbarians maybe, who the heck knows. Everybody in the city of Athens can come in and watch. And they're expected to think about what they've seen and expected to, reflect on what Sophocles' message is and to go out and not necessarily, I have seen the light. I will now ask myself, what would Sophocles do? But hopefully their citizenship, their idea of citizenship has been altered by the story of Creon and Antigone. How's that? That was not a bizarre question at all. Other questions? Yes, go ahead.
I always like to think of the chorus popping out of nowhere. Just, that's always funny to me. Just hanging from the ceiling or something. And would you, when you say that, you said that the chorus is like the Theban elders or like Theban citizens and everything. And I know that they have specific lines, but would it be like some of the people would be like, oh, well, Creon's right, and some of them would be like, oh.
Oh, sure. They can break off into separate choruses and stuff like that. Sure, you can pull all sorts of funny things, It's like a heavy metal song where you have the obligatory drum solo in the middle, like, blookum, 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 blookum. And it goes on for about 15 minutes while the other guys are getting high or doing whatever it is they do back in the trailer. You could actually begin a heavy metal song with a huge drum solo. Yeah, they're having fun. They can do that. Okay, other questions? Yes, go ahead. Your name is?
Travis.
Okay, and is that you, Chris, next to you? Okay, all right, go ahead, Travis.
All right, so it's just a quick question. You said Creon didn't really want to become king. He just kind of was forced into it after Polyneices and Oedipus killed each other.
Yes, and it's not the first time he's been forced to be king also. Remember that after Laius died, because some dude killed him out on the road, Creon had a contest. Whoever could answer the Sphinx's riddle could get to be king. He doesn't really want to be king. He really doesn't. I really don't think so. Whatever else you want to say about him, I mean, he does have his head, he does have what you could call a rectocranial inversion going on, but he really did not ask to be king, and I'm sticking to that. Other questions? Yes, Semi.
Okay.
Are you asking a question or are you just foofing, Ryan?
I'm sorry, my head.
Okay, you're foofing. Go ahead.
Okay, so Creon decrees that he's going to kill Antigone, but he doesn't. He just sticks her in a tomb and gives her, where she can either kill herself or stay there and just eventually die. But he says he's going to kill whoever buries Polyneices, but he doesn't actually do it. He wimps out. What's this about?
It's called plausible deniability. And heck, I may even put that on a test. Plausible deniability means, okay, Sammy, for the horrible crime of asking such an impertinent question, I sentence you to death. Go sit on that windowsill and jump off. I've just ensured plausible deniability because I've told you to go commit suicide. I'm not guilty, supposedly. It's the same thing that happened to Oedipus. Remember?
Yeah,
And it doesn't convince me either. It's a.
He said he was going to have it done. That he was going to have her killed. Like he was going to cut her hat off or have her, have her kill herself.
Plain
in front
white
of him,
teeth.
or, be stabbed or however the ancient Greeks like to.
Bored to death.
Something, but then he just sticks her in this tomb. And the tomb is kind of a old murky thing as well, because you don't know whether they've actually put her in a rock tomb or if they put her in a bedroom and shut the door and locked it.
I know.
By the way it was described, and it's just like, Well, what's this about?
Okay, I have a two-part answer for you, and this is a good one. Okay, it goes like this. It's all the action's taking place up there, right, on a stage. So they don't really have the production values to really make for, a big, huge descent into a cave and stuff like that. But I very much think, Sammy and everybody else, that Antigone's death or sentence to death to go into that cave is number one, plausible deniability. It's like, I didn't kill you, the bullet killed you. Bullet didn't kill you, the hole killed you. It's not the bullet, it's the hole. Okay? Or maybe it's the gun, but not the person who shot the gun.
People don't kill people, guns kill people.
It ain't even the gun. It ain't even the gun, it's the bullet. And there are some who will say it's not even the bullet, but it's the hole. Lawyers. But seriously, the descent into the tomb, to my mind, is very clearly an attempt to suggest raise your hand if you know, don't say it, raise your hand if you know what the next word is going to be. Oh, come on, there are like three. Okay, Rebecca, what's the next word? Catabasis. Ding, 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 ding. The correct word is catabasis, because you think of a journey downward, okay, into a symbolic underworld, nasty little room there with nothing but a chandelier to hang yourself from if you feel fit, okay? And Antigone saying, all the way going down there, okay, I was wanting to get married, didn't know I was going to get married to death. And the choruses, at first they're hateful, then they're kind of supportive. They don't know what to think. Like crowds anywhere, they don't really know what to think. And she goes in there, and hopefully, you're hoping against hope that she will go down there and she will emerge. She will emerge having learned something about herself. She will emerge as a woman of great knowledge who will come forth and share what she has learned through this experience to the whole world. Except for she doesn't. I think it's a one-way catabasis. But you don't have to. How's that for an answer? What grade would you give that answer? Thank you. That's what I give to people who try real hard too. I'm open to other opinions.
I'm kind of a pit bull about this, I'm sorry.
Go for it. I mean, there's one person in the room who cares enough to pursue me and make me give a better than B+ answer. I say go for it.
I guess my confusion is, then if he's king, he doesn't want to be king, but then he's going to set forth this decree and be such a hard ass about it.
A55.
Sorry. Rewind.
Oh, she said
about it.
She said F. Okay.
Then why doesn't he just go ahead and kill her? That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, Devi, I'm going to sick Devi on you. That'll teach you.
Thinking about the whole time, it's also, he doesn't want the miasma for it. So if he kills, technically she's family. So he can't kill her because then he's going to have to do all this stuff to try to get the miasma off of him because it's like...
Yeah, you kill somebody, you get miasma. But although you may get points if you're a king, my take on it is as follows. He doesn't want to be king, but he got stuck being the king. Okay? And you don't have to buy this or not. And he's decided that if he's stuck being the king, then he has to do the best job he can. And that if he's going to be the king, he's going to have to do the best he can. He's going to have to do it his way. Okay? Well, the thing is, yeah, go ahead, Rebecca. Are you going to save me or are you going to side with them?
No.
Okay. That's a perfect answer. I ask a disjunctive question, you're going to side with them, and you go, no. I deserve that. Go ahead.
Well, isn't the city kind of mad at Creon for the whole decree anyway? Aren't they?
By the end of the play, you can sense, and again, they may be flip-flopping, but or maybe they're it's mature reflection. There's,
Want to say, oh yeah, I killed Antigone, like had her put to death or anything like that. It's just I'd shut her in the room and she killed herself. Like, wouldn't that kind of, I don't know, kind of lessen the blow a little bit? Wouldn't they be completely against him if
oh, yeah, they would, and he's got to stay in power, you know, because the city's going to have anarchy. They've run out of possible people who can be the kings because they can't have a girl. No, she's a girl. They can't have a queen. She's a girl. Whoa. Okay, that's not an option. So he's kind of stuck with it. Oh, excellent. And now Lay's going to whack me. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that since originally the whole point of this entire thing was to prevent civil war and prevent everybody from being all up in arms, like, pick a side, even though both of them are dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Antigone goes and does this, he has to follow his own rule. He's a slave to like something that he's already said was going to happen. Very much like Oedipus is a slave to his ruling of whoever killed his father. So therefore, feels like he has to follow through, and he felt that maybe putting her in this tomb, his hands would be clean from her actually having to kill her, but she will still be dead.
That is an excellent summary, Lay. That is exactly it. He's got to stick with what he did because he's a dang king. But he's going to try to lessen it. And it ain't going to work. Bethany, you got something? Or are you foofing? Okay, well, anybody else have any strong opinions or anything like that before I go off on another blatherfest? Sam?
I like bacon. Bacon's awesome.
Bacon is awesome.
And
Look,
blue.
it's easy to sit around and complain. It's easy to sit around and complain about the people who are running the place. It's easy enough to say, those dang administrators of this university, why, I have reason to believe that some of them are morons. Okay? I couldn't ever say, but my point is, once you are yourself put in the hot seat, the world does in fact look quite a bit different. I have never been in charge of anything tremendously important, but believe it or not, there are things I have been in charge of that have forced me to make unpleasant decisions about people I personally liked. And it takes a certain amount of guts, I gotta give myself credit, to walk into the office of somebody you like and say, the committee has voted you off the island. You're gonna be looking for a new job. Not in those terms, but basically walk in and tell somebody I liked and respected that the committee had voted that she was not gonna be renewed. What do? I mean, power, responsibility force you to do a lot of things you don't want to do. And I even sometimes have a flickering of compassion in my heart for politicians. Because the only thing that's for sure at the end of the day is you are the mayor, you are the governor, you are the president, you're the associate provost. And whatever turns out is going to come down on your head. That being the case, I'm doing it my way, to heck with it. I'm not going to ask everybody because they're just going to run like the chorus when they're done. Other comments, questions, or complaints about the public affairs content of this award-winning play? Taylor, you have been really silent. Do you have laryngitis?
It's been a long week.
Tell me about it. It's Tuesday.
Well, last week and this week, yes.
Okay.
I'll have more on Thursday.
Okay, good. Who else wants to comment on the significance of this play? Go ahead. Your name is still Chris.
Yes.
You're winning lots of points, Chris. I'm repeating your name so I remember it, Chris.
Basically, like, so I'm reading this and I'm like realizing that it's kind of sad how I guess everybody ends up dying, and then I started to think like how all this, like the Oedipus story and this are kind of coming together, and so basically I guess with all stories that we have been written, does the authors back then, I guess, like, did they write a story with like the end in sight, or do they just kind of write it and ends up becoming where like all of Oedipus' children are gonna end up dying?
Yes.
And like, I don't know,
No, and Chris, that is just a wonderful question. If I can just, rephrase it a little bit more loudly so the microphone picks it up and throw something at me if I'm getting it wrong, because it's a question that deserves an A+ answer. You're curious to know, one, do they all end in just tears and people feeling horrible? Yes. The answer, every once in a while, just enough to keep you in suspense. You'll get a play that I will not put on the test, but I can summarize it really quickly for you. You'll like it, okay? It's called the Alcestis. It was written by Euripides. Alcestis is the husband of some dude who says his name is Admetus. Not on the test, remember? He's been told that he's going to die soon. And unless he can tell his mom, get somebody to die in his place. So he says, I'm a popular king. Everybody likes me. He goes around and, hey, Janet, how would you like to die instead of me? And, okay, fine. I'm going to go to my old dad. Hey, Dad, you're an old fart with one foot in the grave. Wouldn't you mind dying for me? Go to hell. Mom, you're my mom. You would die for me. That was a long time ago. Go to hell. Nobody will die for him except for his wife, Alcestis. Okay? Pardon? Well, he is no prize. But, and instead of saying, oh, honey, I love you so much, I could not. Okay. And I tell you what, I'll never get married again, and I'll make a statue of you that I'll put in bed with me.
Okay. Right. Sure.
And just when you start feeling sorry for Alcestis, she starts copying an attitude too, Chris. Like, I'm going to die now. Before my time, I'm a good wife. Everyone will say she was a good wife. And even the chorus is starting to turn sour. Like, oh, come on, get a move on. And what we get at this point is what's called a Deus ex machina, which will not be on the test. Pardon?
But yet you write it.
But yet I wrote it neatly on the board. If you've ever watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you will understand what I'm doing here. A god out of the machine. A god just pops out literally of the woodwork to save the day. It's Hercules. So just as death is knocking on the door, Alcestis, woo, come, Alcestis. Out from the machine bounds Hercules. Arr, let's wrestle. And they wrestle, and Hercules gets Death in a headlock and spins him around and body slams him, and Death just kind of skitters away. That's a tragedy that ended happily. I read that an 81-year-old lady won a $363 million lottery today.
Her kids are happy.
Yeah, but it's not me. Fair enough. The long-winded answer to my question is, this class is eventually going to end when everybody in this room dies. We're all going to die. Call my doctor for a happy word. He said, one thing for sure, we're all going to die. Don't let the elevator bring us down. Oh no, let's go crazy. That's what Dionysus says. But another disjointed story. I was talking this weekend with a gentleman who is a Roman Catholic priest. He's about 75 years old. And we were talking about a book that I was reading in which there was a bunch of short stories which have all sorts of really depressing endings. And he commented, he said, yeah, I was reading that book too. And it's just really depressing. I mean, you go on, you think there's going to have to be a happy story here somewhere, but it's not. It's just like life is so miserable. I started getting really depressed. I'm thinking, dude, you're a priest. You're not supposed to get depressed. I'm supposed to get depressed and you tell me why I feel better. I'm forced to conclude, Chris, that life has its bursts of comedy, but for the most part, it's a tragedy. A tragedy. People making life-changing decisions based on incomplete information, that they're only going to misinterpret anyway because they're only humans with human brains, and the only thing for sure is they will pay the price. Well, that was really upbeat. Aren't you glad you asked that question? Was that a good answer to your question? It wasn't a... No, it's not. Life is just to die. Lou Reed, 1967. Okay, other questions? Yes. Does this have a more cheerful answer?
I want to know about your Catabasis this weekend.
Not yet.
No.
I need to have 2 more brilliant questions from people who haven't asked them already. I'm going to read, and while I do this, I'm going to read to you one of the odes that I had to translate from the ancient Greek when I was your age, and I didn't enjoy it very much either. But as with most, not all, of the choral odes, you think about them long enough, a pattern starts to emerge. Some sense starts to emerge. There are many strange and wonderful things, but none more strangely wonderful than man. He moves across the white-capped ocean seas, blasted by winter storms carving his way under the surging waves engulfing him. With his teams of horses, he wears down the unwearied and immortal earth, oldest of the gods, harassing her, as year by year his plows move back and forth. He snares the light-winged flocks of birds, herds of wild beasts, creatures from deep seas, trapped in the fine mesh of his hunting nets. O resourceful man, whose skill can overcome ferocious beasts roaming mountain heights. He curbs the rough-haired horses with his bit and tames the inexhaustible mountain bulls, setting their savage necks beneath his yoke. He's taught himself speech and windswift thought, trained his feelings for communal civic life, learning to escape the icy shafts of frost, volleys of pelting rain and winter storms, the harsh life lived under the open sky. That's man, so resourceful in all he does. There's no event his skill cannot confront other than death. That alone he cannot shun. Although for many baffling sicknesses, he has discovered his own remedies. The qualities of his inventive skills bring arts beyond his dreams and lead him on, sometimes to evil, sometimes to good. If he treats his country's laws with due respect and honors justice by swearing on the gods, he wins high honors in his city. But when he grows bold and turns to evil, then he has no city. A man like that, let him not share my home or know my mind. This is the so-called Ode to Man. It is the second choral ode in Sophocles' Antigone. It encompasses, I think, both the potentialities of the human race. The chorus talks about how men can tame storms and cause the earth, the goddess earth, to bring forth fruit, can tame any flock of seagulls, can tame birds, fish in the sea, herd bulls. Human beings have taught themselves how to reason and how to live in cities and communities, how to devise remedies for sicknesses. But it all hits the wall when it comes to the topic of death. The implication is that no matter how powerful and wonderful the human race can be, no matter how spectacular the things we as humans can evolve and invent, We're all going to die, which presumes that there is a greater power than anything we can imagine. And the chorus ends by saying, treat the laws with due respect, honor justice by swearing on the gods, live rightly. Because if you go bad, then there's going to be trouble. It talks about a universe in which the gods are still up here, and the humans down here. I guess is part of my answer again, Chris, to your question about the function of the chorus, about, is there a happy ending? Nope. No matter how wonderful a person may be, if it's time for them to go young, they go. And there are some people who live forever, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. I pause for your questions at this point, or questions. We're still, I think, in that 5th century BC mindset, the same one. This is about the same time period as the one in which Aristophanes wrote The Frogs. The Weltanschauung is improving, but it's still nothing to get too excited about. Pause for a question there. I told you I would have to have at least 2 more dynamic questions asked by members of the class, provoking brilliant answers for me before I tell you the story of my catabasis. And here's Taylor with one of them.
Well, mine's kind of just a curious question about.
I'm so desperate I'll take anything.
Have you actually seen the play, like itself?
No, I have not.
I was just wondering how it would be like, how it won't.
Can we perform it in here?
No, you may not. Although I have had plays performed in smaller classes. I think it's really great. I one time did have a presentation of The Bat Guy done, complete with Dionysus, dancing around and chicks, tearing people apart and goats and stuff. But this is on tape. We can't have any of this on tape. But in answer to your question, there have been productions of classical plays here, but not this one. It's a tough one. I think it would be dang awesome. You should talk to the theater department. Okay, and then Jackson, and we also had somebody else's hand up there. Go ahead, Jackson. And
when was Antigone written? Because the Odyssey was written around 1200 BC?
the Odyssey supposedly happened around 1200 BC, but was written down around 800 or 750 BC.
Okay, so the events in Antigone happened before then?
Yes, they belong to a mythical past. Okay, they couldn't exactly slap a year on them. I mean, we can say that, George Washington was born in 1732 and died in 1799, and, he's a historical figure. You can go to his gravestone and stuff like that, but, I mean, how about Robin Hood? That shut him up. Sammy, what do you got?
I was wondering if since everything is on YouTube anymore, if somebody has put these type of plays on YouTube.
It's probably too long, and the average attention span is not long enough really to sit through it. And I'm bad that way myself. I went to see this play called The Love Song of J. Robert Oppenheimer, which was merely dang awesome, but like the first 15 minutes, it was like, and I think, now I know what my students go through every class. When is this going to end? I looked at the clock. I stumbled my feet. And then it caught me. Then it grabbed me by the shirt and started dragging me around the theater. Now, what was the question? Oh, see if you can find them. That would be great. What else? Camille.
Would you say Carpe Diem still applies to this at all, or is it just Deus inevitable?
Well, the problem with Carpe Diem is it's so simple. It's like, really, what it's all about? You want to know what it's all about? You put your right foot in. You take your right foot out, and you shake it all about, and you turn yourselves around, and have you ever wondered what if the hokey pokey really was what it's all about? And it's a bad joke. But I'll tell you, there have been times in my life recently when I wonder, maybe it is And I think, Camille, that carpe diem, seize the day, is never bad until, let's say you get like Oedipus. Any day when I put off, the sad fact that I have indeed killed dad and married mom is a good one. But yeah, carpe diem is still in effect.